First Amendment stuff. One, there's a kid in Little Canada that was charged with disorderly conduct and I think resisting arrest for taping law enforcement when they were picking someone up in an ambulance kind of case. And it's interesting because the law in Minnesota has been for a long time that it's okay to tape law enforcement in the public. And then the United States Supreme Court decided not to review a case out of Chicago that was a federal case where that court held that it's a violation of someone's First Amendment rights if law enforcement charges them with a crime for recording them in public.
So you can or cannot record?
You can in Minnesota anyway, and other states have tried to make laws, but the law is pretty clear around here that you can record police officers in public.
Good.
And now, did you mention he's suing? Sorry, I was getting back to a text here.
Suing?
He's not suing. He's still charged with a couple of crimes, which is really interesting. I'm just frankly surprised by that, but keep an eye on that case.
Well, he's planning on. I was reading an article in the Pioneer Press. I guess he was pretty pissed. There's audio of it, and you can see portions of the video if you Google it. But that's pretty interesting. I was wondering that myself. So that's a Minnesota thing where it's cool? It's not federal?
No, but when the Supreme Court decides not to take a case that's been decided already, what they're basically doing is endorsing that prior decision.
Setting a precedent, right?
Yeah, and so there's a lower court already in Illinois, a federal one, that said it's illegal to make a law making it a crime to tape police in public. And so the Supreme Court said, you know what, we're not going to screw with that. When the court said, you violated someone's First Amendment rights, you got to let them tape police in public. And the Supreme Court didn't take that case, which means they're cool with that decision.
That's disgusting. What are we, Iran?
Yeah, that's pretty scary. So that's First Amendment thing number one. First Amendment thing number two, the case came up federally as well that said it's okay to give police the middle finger, and that a law charging them with disorderly conduct would violate their First Amendment rights.
Probably a bad idea because that's going to alert them to the brand new broken tail light you have.
Or the broken face you're going to get.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
because of resisting arrest.
Sure. I'm not a big fan of cops, but you have to remember these guys are off duty at times, and most of them know how to kick ass.
Right.
And have access to finding you.
And then sometimes you need them to help you.
Yeah, and I'm not advocating flicking them off at all. It's just the point is that it violates your First Amendment rights if you charge them with a crime for that.
I'm thrilled that I now know I can record a cop in public. In my hometown, it's thrilling. You guys want to see some video of a guy drinking coffee and combing his hair in the rearview mirror? Because I'll have some good stuff for you here in a couple weeks.
Hey, before you go.
Andrew Henderson watched as Ramsey County Sheriff's deputies frisked a bloody-faced man outside his Little Canada apartment building. Paramedics then loaded the man, a stranger to Henderson, into an ambulance. Henderson, 28, took out his small handheld video camera, began recording. It's something he does regularly with law enforcement. What? Why? So you have a hobby now, you record law enforcement. That's what you do.
Yeah, he's going to keep the man in place.
Okay. But what happened next was different. The deputy, Jacqueline Mulliner, approached him and snatched the camera from his hand, Henderson said. We'll just take this for evidence, Mulliner said. Their voices were recorded on Henderson's cell phone as they spoke, and Henderson provided a copy of the audio file to the Pioneer Press. If I end up on YouTube, I'm going to be upset. Henderson calmly insisted he was within his rights to do what he was doing. He refused to give his name. He is the latest in a string of cases nationwide involving citizens who record police activities. I wish the police around the country would get the memo on these situations, said Jane Kirtley, professor of media ethics and media law at the University of Minnesota. Somebody needs to explain to them that under U.S. law, making video recordings of something that's happening in public is legal.
And shut up and show your breath.
The courts have been pretty clear on the issue, Kirtley said. Law enforcement has no expectation of privacy when they are carrying out public duties in a public place. Randy Gustafson, spokesperson for the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office, declined to discuss details of the case, saying it is an ongoing investigation. But he said it's not our policy to take video cameras. It is everybody's right to record. What happens out in public happens out in public. One exception might be when a law enforcement officer decides that the recording is needed for evidence, he said. In that case, the officer would generally send the file to investigators and return the camera on the spot, Gustafson said. How did you get in the habit of recording whatever the authorities do?
He's just a pain-in-the-ass troublemaker.
How often do you see an officer arrest someone where it seems like something's a little hinky, as they used to say on Adam 12.
Only when it's happening to me.
Yes, then it's all gone wrong.
Yeah,
The guy
exactly.
probably had his beamer towed.
Yeah, right.
I just, again, I don't care. If somebody did something, they got arrested, it's none of my business.
Well,
You know?
the argument's also an interesting one about needing it for evidence. I'll be curious to see how this thing does play out. And how do you give it right back to him if you basically assuming you can Wi-Fi it in somewhere?
Well, I would imagine.
That wasn't on his, was not a cell phone he did it on, right? It was a separate
It's a
camera.
handheld video
Yeah.
camera, but then it later referred to it as his cell phone.
Well, no, they said the cell phone is what he was taping the conversation on his cell phone, so he may have a few things going there.
Well, yeah, I suppose if he had the
Technology.
the whole sound system rigged up there, but I assume that they were one and the same. But yeah, maybe he had two devices going at once.
You know what he's got to do is buy one of those POV cameras, that point of view at
Yeah,
get one of those things that strap around your head.
Then put cymbals on your knees and be a little band in the corner when you got nothing else to do. Or if you want
Nothing
this
else
guy a
cooking.
job.
For anyone who watched NCIS last night, Abby had them in her glasses, the POVs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, those are neat.
There you go.
To have a set of those.
There you have it. Speaking of that, last night I watched last week's episode of Blue Bloods. You guys watch Blue Bloods?
I do, but not as it's more sporadic than I'd like. So I like the show.
I will tell you this. I love watching that show because Danny Wahlberg beats the piss out of at least one perpetrator a week. I love watching it. Guy mouths off, so Danny Wahlberg beats the piss out of him. That's the kind of law enforcement we need. What are you, a tough guy, are you? Get her done indeed, man.
So we talk about government power, and, I remember when Obamacare was passed, people said, well, people are going to be able to be arrested under certain provisions of Obamacare, and people laughed. And here we have an example of this in real life. Andrew Henderson is on with us this morning. Andrew's the kid we call you a kid, but we know you're not. You're a man. But you like to film the police. We'll find out why in a second. But you were arrested under certain provisions of Obamacare. So, Andrew, good morning, and why don't you just tell us your story?
Good morning to you too, sir. Basically, I like to film police in their actions, hold everybody accountable.
Right, but tell us your story.
Basically, I was sitting outside of my apartment, and I saw a gentleman being led by a couple of sheriff's deputies, and he was being led to an ambulance, so I pulled up my video camera and started filming the interaction.
So this is in Ramsey County, or where do you live?
Yes, Ramsey County.
Okay, so what was the deal with this guy?
I'm not really sure. They were just taking him out to an ambulance, and I don't know who the guy was.
Was he
Never got his
cuffed?
name. What was that?
Was he cuffed?
No, he was not cuffed.
Oh,
okay. So you like to film the police which, by the way, is your right. I mean, now, I know there was a guy arrested in Illinois for this, and he won his case. Right. So tell us what happened then. So you were filming them, then what?
And then a sheriff's deputy came up to me, asked me what I was doing. I said filming, and she just basically took the camera out of my hand.
And then what?
Yeah.
And then I proceeded to tell her what I was doing was legal. She screamed at me that she didn't want to be on YouTube, and I told her it doesn't matter. I stood my ground. I stated my rights, and she continued to take it away. And
so why'd you get arrested?
I didn't get arrested. I never got detained, and I never got arrested for this.
So where is this coming from, that this was under some sort of provision of Obamacare? Tell us about that.
Well, she stated that the person that they put in the ambulance had the right to privacy.
Okay, and you were charged? You need to give us more details. So
sure, yeah.
we don't know whether you were arrested, charged. Tell us what happened.
All right, well, she took my camera. I refused to identify myself because I wasn't being detained. I wasn't being arrested, so there was no reason for me to give my name. The next day, I went down to the Ramsey County Sheriff's Department to try to get my property back. And, there I had to give them my name, and they were surprised. They didn't even know a thing about this. She didn't turn my camera into evidence yet. They got my name, and 6 days later, I received a citation in the mail for disorderly conduct and obstruction of justice.
Wow.
Yep.
And is that where the Obamacare reference comes in?
I believe so, yeah.
And do you know what
it's a HIPAA violation because what happens is he's entitled to his quote-unquote privacy, and so that's why he was cited. Now,
wait a second. St. Paul is a sanctuary city, Bob, so how is it that he can be charged under Obamacare when if he was a illegal immigrant, he wouldn't even be questioned?
Let me just jump in here real quick. HIPAA doesn't cover, interactions taken out in the public when there's like a wellness check being done by police out in the public square. That HIPAA has nothing to do with it. HIPAA covers medical care providers not releasing information.
Right, but they probably figured it's good enough. Let's use this. So they didn't want to give your camera back.
Right, yeah, they did not want to give my camera back.
So how does it end? Did you ever get the camera back, and what happened to the charges?
Get the camera back. It took me 3 weeks to get the camera back, and when I got it back, there was no footage on it.
Interesting. So now, what's the disposition of this charge? Well, do you have an attorney, or are you going to go to court, or what's the deal?
Well, I had arraignment court. I pled innocent because I don't feel that I was violating anybody's rights. I wasn't obstructing anything from happening. I was 30 feet away on a bench, so I don't see how I'm obstructing justice anyway. So I pled innocent, and now I have pretrial on January 30th.
You got to be kidding! They're actually going to pursue this?
Well, there's no evidence. There's no film of anything. So how can they?
Do you have any idea what happened to your footage?
I don't know. No.
How do you delete footage off a camera like that?
It's digital.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. It's one button and it's deleted.
So now I want to get into this. Why you like to film police? What are you? Some kind of nut?
No, it just promotes transparency and accountability for our government. It's an easy way for a citizen to do that.
And why is this your interest? Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I grew up inner city. You see things that police do, and it sticks in your head. And as I've gotten older, I've become more proactive about it. I wouldn't call myself an activist by any means. I just do it when I can. When I see something, I film something.
So what are you talking about? It sticks in your head. You're talking about police abuses of their authority?
Yeah, police abuses, misconduct. I mean, it happens all the time. I mean, you can look on YouTube and see many videos of different abuses and misconduct.
Yeah, and sometimes they're justifiable and sometimes they're not, I suppose. But you're saying, look, we have the right to film the police, and you can't stop us from doing that.
Right. It holds everybody accountable. It holds the police. It holds the suspect. It holds everybody accountable.
And, of course, they have their own cameras, right?
Yes,
right.
They do. Yeah.
So, thank you, Andrew. Great talking to you this morning. Good luck with your case.
Yeah, we might follow up with you after the 30th.
Yeah, well, call us after the 30th. We'd love to hear what happens.
Definitely. I'll keep you guys informed.
10-4.
There's a story in the Pioneer Press today. I know it intrigued you, Kenny. It intrigued me as well. It's about a guy who was filming some police work.
Yeah, that was interesting.
And had a sheriff's deputy come over out of the blue in the middle of performing this police work and confiscating his video camera. Claiming that he was, what did they claim? They claimed that...
they wanted it for evidence?
They wanted it for evidence. But I read the whole thing. His name is Andrew Henderson. It's an Emily Gernon story in the Pioneer Press. It's very interesting. Andrew Henderson watched as Ramsey County Sheriff's deputies frisked a bloody-faced man outside his Little Canada apartment building. Paramedics then loaded the man, a stranger to Henderson, into an ambulance. Henderson, 28, took out his small handheld video camera and began recording. It's something he does regularly with law enforcement. That might be a different topic, whether he needs a better hobby or not.
Right.
But what happened next was different. The deputy, Jacqueline Muehlner, if I'm pronouncing that right, approached him and snatched the camera from his hand. Henderson said, "We'll just take this for evidence. Muehlner said their voices were recorded on Henderson's cell phone as they spoke, and Henderson provided a copy of the audio file to the Pioneer Press. If I end up on YouTube, I'm going to be upset. I guess that would have been the copper saying that. Henderson calmly insisted he was within his rights to do what he was doing, and he refused to give his name. His is the latest in a string of cases nationwide involving citizens who record police activities. Well, you know what? What reasonable expectation of privacy does a copper have in public? The answer is none.
Right. Yeah, I was
zero.
I was actually surprised to learn that, but yeah, you're right.
Well, but think about it logically.
Right.
They are public employees.
Right. Yep.
They are outside, which is public. They're in a parking lot. Let's say it's a store. That's public.
Right.
And along comes somebody with a camera. You can question the motivation of some young person who chooses to spend his time filming the activities of police officers, but that's neither here nor there to the point of that being legal.
Mm-hmm.
It is legal.
Right, you're out. Right, exactly.
And we get a quote here. I wish the police around the country would get the memo on these situations, said Jane Kirtley, professor of media ethics and media law at the U of M. Somebody needs to explain to them that under the U.S. law, making video recordings of something that's happening in public is legal. The courts have been pretty clear on the issue, Kirtley said. Law enforcement has no expectation of privacy when they are carrying out public duties in a public place. Randy Gustafson, spokesman for the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office, declined to discuss details of the case, saying that it is ongoing. But he said it is not our policy to take video cameras. It is everybody's right to record. What happens out in public happens out in public. One exception might be when a law enforcement officer decides that the recording is needed for evidence, he said. Although in this case, I could, after reading the entire story, I could find no reason why their evidence was needed for anything. It sounds like they were responding to a medical call.
Right.
One exception might be when law enforcement officers decide that the recording is needed for evidence. In that case, the officer would generally send the file to investigators and return the camera on the spot. Kevin Beck, whose law firm prosecutes non-felony cases for Little Canada and other cities, declined to comment Tuesday on the specifics of Henderson's case. Henderson said he carries the camera with him and uses it often. And occasionally he will post something online. Police are in a position where they have a certain power that should be watched by the citizens, he said. I can't argue with that.
I can't either.
I generally fall on the side of trusting them.
Yeah, when I read that, I was reminded that they're watching us via camera, too.
Yeah.
There's cameras all over town.
But I have no... I've never felt an urgency that I think that I should be recording the activities of police.
No,
I generally err on the side of believing, well, if they're got their guns drawn and they're chasing some guy down, they got a reason.
Right.
But, you know, there are people like this young guy who thinks that. Well, that's fine. Isn't there room for both of us in the world?
Let's all just get along.
Yeah, police are in a position where they have a certain power that should be watched by the citizens, he said, explaining his motivation. The best way to watch them is to film them and hold them accountable for their actions. And again, in this particular case, the young guy filming, he's a welder by trade. Mm-hmm. This does sound like his hobby. He himself is not suggesting that he was attempting to film anything untoward. He just
does this. This is his...
He was not suggesting he was capturing something of a corrosive or corrupt nature. He just stands around and films cops when he sees them. And one of them came over and took the camera, and he's raising a stink about it.
We can speculate why the camera was taken.
Well, because they got angry at somebody watching them filming them.
And they've been indicted via video before with,
But again, there's no evidence. For example, what did the lead say? A bloody-faced man. There's no evidence that the man was bloody-faced as a result of the police.
Right, none at all.
And he's not suggesting that.
No.
In fact, it may be that you had a possibly disturbed person in some way there. There's that intimation.
That's kind of the, that's what I took away from it.
Well, this guy, he said this happened in October. He went back to the Arden Hills Sheriff's substation to get his camera back, and they wouldn't give it to him. And a week later, he was charged with obstruction of legal process and disorderly conduct. I don't find that reasonable.
No, they need to drop those charges or waste a lot of money in court.
He had been filming from about 30 feet away. He said Henderson said deputies gave him no warning before Muehlner took his camera. The deputy wrote in the citation, while handling a medical check, the welfare call.
Yeah, that's what that is. We were right.
Yeah, Henderson was filming it. Data privacy, HIPAA violation. Refused to identify self. Had to stop dealing with situation to deal with Henderson. Okay, well, first of all, they disprove the HIPAA thing. There's nothing in HIPAA laws that prevent you from standing around filming.
No, and they didn't have to stop attending to this person.
No.
They opted to.
No. See, I'm cursed by seeing both sides of this. I can see where a guy, he's got that fight City Hall mentality possibly, and he wants to be on guard, and he has that right to stand around and film coppers. And I can see where coppers get hot-headed about it.
I don't blame them.
Right, what are you doing? Why are you here?
But unfortunately, there's no indication here, unless we're proven otherwise as this plays out, there's no indication here that anybody did anything wrong. The coppers weren't apparently abusing anyone, and this guy was just standing there filming. So this was no harm, no foul that seems to have been contaminated by this guy's insistence that, hey, my camera was taken needlessly and I want it back, and he began a process of trying to get it back. And he said, I'm in the right. If they don't drop those misdemeanors against me, I'm going to trial. And, again, I'm cursed by seeing both sides. I wouldn't blame him for going to trial.
And I scoured the whole article looking for some evidence that this guy had been an ongoing problem with officers around town. And there was nothing in the article that mentioned anything.
And it's well reported. It's a well reported piece, and I think we would have learned that. We did learn that he does this often. But there was no
reason.
There was no flip side to that, where police said not only has he done this often, but he's been a thorn about it.
Right.
We don't get that.
Right. That's what I was looking for.
We have a GL copper chiming in. James, go ahead, please.
Mr. Mayor, this is your GL cop up in the North Metro.
Yes, sir.
I find it kind of creepy that a guy would stand around and video while we're on a call, but I mean, it really doesn't faze me. I mean, generally, that me and all the majority of law enforcement officers are conducting ourselves every day like we're under a microscope anyway.
Right.
So I automatically, when I'm working, I automatically assume that I'm being videoed. My only concern would be is if a portion of the video clip would be, how things can get taken out of context and you don't get to see the totality of the circumstances. But on a medical, if I was on a medical and somebody was filming me, I could care less.
Right. Have you ever seen anyone doing this?
Absolutely.
Oh.
Especially, even on accidents and, the majority of our calls are handled inside homes anyways.
Right.
I mean, but, for whatever strange reason, people like to video accidents or things that are happening or going on outside. But like I said, I conduct myself like I'm on video all the time anyway. I mean, we have audio and video in our cars that monitor our behavior at all times. Anytime we turn the lights and sirens on, the video and audio goes on.
Right.
And you can activate that yourself with a button, and our supervisors can monitor that at any time. There are certain policy restrictions, but we're constantly being monitored.
Right.
James, can they monitor you live, or is it all playback of tape?
It can be both.
Interesting.
We have, like I said, certain policy restrictions where they have to have certain reasons that the supervisors can pull it up and view it in live time.
Yeah.
But, as soon as we turn it off, the video is classified a certain way, and it's archived for different durations depending on the nature of the call. and it's readily available to, the city's attorneys, the county's attorneys, defense attorneys. So it's not like we're not used to being monitored. Most of us could, really care less.
All right.
That's my take on it.
James, thank you.
Good day, sir.
All right, good luck. Thank you. Harvey.
Yeah, hey, Joe, I was just listening to you. I read those two articles in both Metro papers today. I thought the cop said it was a mental health thing, that maybe they are trying to protect the privacy of the individual.
That could very well be.
That was mentioned in the article.
Yep.
So I thought that seemed to be why he was reacting the way he did.
All right, thank you.
You betcha, Joe.
So I have a question for you, Joe. When we're out at the state fair, there's hundreds of video cameras on us.
Right.
We're public figures, obviously. We don't have any choice. We have to. But if we're a private citizen and we see somebody taping us, we're not in the public eye in any such way, shape, or form. Can we go over and confiscate that thing?
No, but you can go over and hit them.
But then it's on tape, and then it's used as evidence in your trial.
No, you take the camera and you just smash it.
But there's been many times out at the stage at the state fair where I'd like to just confiscate all the cameras.
Like, no, I really don't want you to see me like
when
that.
We're doing
Please don't.
When we're doing this show, I'm totally unaware of being filmed.
Yeah.
I don't ever. It's the last thing.
Well, you get so caught up in interviewing Sourdough Slim or whatever that you're unaware that people are filming it, and they're not really filming us. They're filming Sourdough Slim.
Right. So you don't feel every one of those eyeballs on you, looking at your every move?
No, my
Have
mental
you seen
health
what he
is
wears?
perfect.
Of course he doesn't.
Yeah.
What's your secret?
I think that I think what we are learning, based on James reporting that he's routinely filmed, I think there's probably a subculture of people who believe they have, I'm trying to think of the right words, believe they have a calling or a motivated sense of civic duty to pretend that they are arbiters of justice, and they want to film these things.
That's the exact feeling I got. Like he might have an agenda. It didn't say that he does have an agenda, but that's kind of the.
Nor does it say he's ever been in trouble for doing this.
He'd be an interesting fellow to talk to for a few minutes, just to say, "Hey, what's up?
What's the most exciting thing you've found?" Yeah, I think we should. I'd want to know what is he looking for, to be a YouTube sensation, to send something viral, or just to make me putting a piece together? He's in school or something. I don't know.
Is everybody trying to have and own and shoot the next Rodney King video?
I wonder if that's it. I wonder if that's it. I don't know.
That was the first big one, right? I don't remember any kind of controversy on tape like that before the Rodney King video. And that's got to be 20 years by now.
Who shot the Rodney King video?
Oh, good Lord, it's longer. That was about 91.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
No, it was Reginald Denny. They pulled, remember, he was pulled out of the truck.
That was during the riots.
That was as a result of the Rodney King video.
Oh, yeah, right. And that was a chopper, I think, up in the air.
And the copper that took the camera, she's been in the sheriff's office since 1980. It's not like she's a young, confused rookie. She's
like the gal from Fargo. So we got some guy over there taking pictures.
No,
we're gonna
that's
grab
Marge.
Officer, that's Rookie saying that. That's not me.
Yeah. So this guy's
they listen.
Yeah, they're taking pictures. We're gonna take it for evidence. Now she's from Chicago.
That's great. Let's see you drive in Maplewood.
Wow. It was going really well up until this point.
No, the coppers, they're all out there.
Well, I just found it fascinating, and I think maybe we should make an effort. I'll save this.
I think we should. What the heck? Let's talk to them. And say,
why do people film police activity? What are you hoping to discover?
Good or bad?
Because you know what? In the unlikely event that you did capture something abusive, I wouldn't want to be filming it.
No, right. I gotta go.
I gotta leave.
Thank
I
you.
gotta run here.
Gotta get some kids.
I gotta,